Prepare for unconsensual nostalgia. The PS1, home to many horror classics such as Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and Parasite Eve, just to name a few. I've always admired the charm these games had. There's just something about those shitty graphics that made these games just feel even creepier to play. With modern success of the Puppet Combo series, it's also clear that people are still big fans of this aesthetic, especially in a horror context. But this left my galaxy brain wondering, what if there were a multiplayer PS1 horror? Enter Thalassomania. Imagine for a second that you and your mates, you're members of a fishing crew stranded at sea, desperately trying to make it home alive. You're battling extreme weather conditions, shitting yourself at every wave you encounter, wondering if the boat you find yourself on is going to bloody sink any minute. But get this, you are not alone. Hunted by a relentless predator, you and your mates must work together to complete various tasks, running and hiding from whatever it is that's hunting you down. The name Thalassomania means love of the sea, which is quite fitting considering you're all fishermen. In this devlog, I'll be attempting to cover the game's development so far. Since there's quite a lot to cover, I will spare a lot of the boring stuff, but no, I will go into much more detail in future devlogs. So without further ado, let's take you back to where it all began. Ah shit. Not to worry, I do still have some of the old clips and screenshots. The journey first began with this cute little boat, and this even cuter player model. Since it's a multiplayer game we're making, we better get that working to start. For this, I'm using Mirror, which is as simple as slapping on a few components to the player, and just like that, game basically finished, right? Yeah, not quite. I fixed whatever that was, added the ocean with some working waves, and I quickly realised we're going to need a bigger boat. So I bought this lovely boat model and began modelling the interiors. Here's what it's looking like now. I also added rain just to make it extra spooky. Now time to work on the fun stuff. AI. For the creature's AI, I use a finite state machine approach, which to all you non-nerds watching essentially means we've got a bunch of states that we can go to and from when certain conditions are met. Take for example this idle state and this wander state. We can define under what conditions we'd want to transition from idling to wandering by calling this method here. So in this example, all we do is check to see if the cooldown since we last wandered has been exceeded, and if it has, let's start wandering. Simple, right? Now we just have to repeat this for a bunch of other states, and very quickly we got this lovely script right here.
What the hell? Oh my god!
The creature's basically ChatGPT now, let's be honest. Then added some CCTV cameras so the players can watch their impending doom whenever the creature's sighted. A funny state to code was this peeking state, in which the creature can approach any door and peek its head around. If you then look at it whilst it's doing that, it will just bum you. What's that? I'm only shaking a level 12 guy out in the engine room. Then I thought, what else do ships have? Engines. Engine rooms. I'll make one of those. So it's actually a sick room to model. I loved adding emergency lights and even faking volumetric lights, like some PS1 games did back in the day. Now who wants a new player model? Me, I'm zesty. Say less. Since this game is set on a fishing boat, it's only right that the player's model is a little fishing get up, so I began working on that. It was actually really fun to model. I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. Now on to the fun part, the faces. PS1 games are often remembered for their characters' faces since they always look so cursed. So I asked my bro to send me some profile shots for his face. He clearly got confused because he just sent me his fucking nipples. Anyway, texture in the face is pretty easy. You just shape it roughly in Blender and then plaster the image onto it. And just like that, bro is immortalised in my game. I then repeated this for 2 more characters. So currently we have 3 potential characters you can pick from when choosing a character in the lobby. What next? Flashlights. Just slap 2 cylinders together, add a spotlight, slap it on a player's hand, add a cheeky lens flare that points to the camera, and just like that, lovely little flashlight. Next was the lobby. Essentially we just copy the ship's model into a new scene, add some UI screens for like hosting and joining a game. I then added a player selection system where the player could choose which of these newly modelled characters to pick from. Added the ability for them to ready up, and once all the players are ready, the host can then start the game. Now I look at this, why does this look kind of familiar? I then wanted to make the creature more threatening, as right now we can't even hurt the bloody player. An idea that sprung into mind was a sort of tug of war system, where you could fight for your knocked out mate's corpse with the creature. The way it'd work is a creature knocks out your mate, starts dragging him, but if you're quick enough you can drag him back and initiate a tug of war where the creature's like, he's mine, and you're just there spamming the fuck out your keyboard going, no. First, we're going to need some ragdolls. For this, we can just add a bunch of rigid bodies to the player's limbs. Then we can just disable the animator whenever we want to knock the player out like this. Next, the creature needs to actually be able to hold them and drag them. Luckily, Unity has a hold joint system that will work perfectly for this. The spring joint works by keeping two objects together by adding a force between them, so this would be perfect. So I set the origin to the creature's arse and the destination to the player's chest. And just like that, he's getting ragdolled. It should have been me. But he's not really being held. So we played around with some values and nope, still not quite right. So after some more bug fixing, we now have a working ragdoll / dragging system. Now for the tug of war plan. I figured the best way to do this is just to make a progress bar that has like a cut-off point, say 0.9. Over time, that value will go down. That's essentially the creature's way of fighting back. Every time you spam a certain key, it will add to this value. So, say a tug of war lasts for 10 seconds. If you manage to spam your keyboard enough and get that value above 0.9, then you get your mate back. If not, bye-bye. Here's it in action. My genius then struck again, and I thought, what if when the creature won, it could drag the player into a fishing crate and drown them using a crane? I thought, that sounds fucking dope. Let's get to work. For this, I researched a bunch of different cranes and fishing crates that were commonly used on trawlers, which is the boat type that Thalassomania is set on. It was quite fun and challenging to animate, because obviously cranes use a hydraulic, so I had to watch a video on that. My blender skills aren't that great. I then created some simple animations for the crane, picking up the fishing crate, extending, and then descending. I then textured it in Substance Painter, which is obviously used to create really realistic textures. So to stay true to that PS1 aesthetic, all I had to do in Unity was downsize these textures. It's looking perfect. Now all that's left to do is change the creature's destination to the fishing crate, and just like that, bro's getting drowned. That's all I'm going to cover in depth for this devlog, but I'll briefly showcase some core features I didn't cover, just to give you all a better feel of where the game's at currently. But before I do, I'm pleased to announce that Thalassomania is now live on Steam, so if you haven't already, please add it to your wishlist, and share this video with your friends to spread the love, since it is a multiplayer game after all. So I've been working on a lot of tasks as of recently. Here's a little fuse box task. The idea being the creature could tamper with this and force you to have to sort of repair this when getting hunted by him. I also added a physics system, so fires and putting out fires, dragging objects, picking up objects has been added. Funny one is this hiding mechanic, so you can hide under beds and tables and in barrels, and the creature will do like creepy things to like spook you whilst you're in that hiding state. Again, yeah, the player knockout and crane system, that's since been developed further, so you can now, as a teammate, raise and lower the crane if you wanted to be a cunt. And in terms of like future plans, procedurally generating the ship is a big one. I really want that, because that's going to make the game replayable, sort of ensuring that no two journeys are ever the same. And then a lot more navigation mini games, so using different systems like the radar and like a map to navigate and ultimately have a task is what I've been working on behind the scenes, and will likely update you on in the next devlog. But thanks for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.